Then there were two. Mark Rogers TV running through every Power 5 conference schedule in America. We are less than 2 days away from opening night, and we have made it close to the finish line. We are with the second most difficult schedule in the Pac-12. Of course, we've run through the other four conferences. Check out the video posts or the audio podcasts. And the second most difficult schedule in the Pac-12 belongs to, I got the colors on, Stanford Cardinal. All right, this is what makes Stanford's schedule so difficult. Remember the Cardinal coming off a disappointing 8-5 campaign, but latch on to those last two performances by Stanford. Against UCLA, with the Bruins needing to win to get to the Pac-12 championship game, Stanford annihilated the Bruins, a team that finished in the top 10, 31-10. Then they were certainly dominant over Maryland in the Foster Farms Bowl. Okay, for Stanford, let's begin with the non-conference slate. It may overall be the most difficult in the Pac-12. Not because there's one team that's so much better than everybody else. I would guess at this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that Michigan State would be the most difficult opponent for any Pac-12 team right now. The Oregon-Michigan State game. Notre Dame would be just behind Michigan State. As things stand right now, preseason, Notre Dame on the schedule for USC and Stanford. Okay, so Stanford has to play Notre Dame. That is the final game of the season, November 28th. There could be a college football playoff spot on the line, but it's the Stanford overall non-conference slate. They play a decent Northwestern team to start things out on the road in Evanston, Illinois. So again, Northwestern just at 5-7 last season. Doesn't appear to be a difficult task. Consider that Wildcats team beat Notre Dame. They beat Wisconsin, and they should be much better this season. Expect Northwestern to win more like 7 or 8 games this season. So there's that game. And then for Stanford, there's also a game at home against Central Florida the very next week, September 12th. So Stanford plays no softies out of conference, unlike anybody else, practically anybody else in the country, aside from maybe South Carolina, off the top of my head, possibly. Nobody else in this conference. I don't believe anybody else overall. Stanford doesn't play any layups, none. Northwestern, Central Florida, and Notre Dame out of conference. All right, in conference, they catch a bit of a break in the South Division. So, of course, they've got to play everyone in the North. That includes, most notably, Oregon. In the South, they do see USC and UCLA. They do see Arizona, the defending division champion. They don't see Utah, a team that knocked off Stanford last season, and also Arizona State. So a bit of a break for Stanford. Otherwise, they may have the most difficult schedule in the Pac-12, but not quite there. It's, again, Utah and Arizona State off the schedule moves Stanford down a rung from the most difficult in the Pac-12. That's our breakdown on Stanford. Toughest schedule in the Pac-12, -1. Let's talk it up right here on Mark Rogers TV.